Welcome to Personalized Learning with Google Arts and Culture. I'm so excited to talk about this. I saw our presenter, Tammy, do this, and just like in the middle, I was already crafting the email, like you have to come do this for us because this is amazing. So I'm so happy to get into today. I want to quickly go through some future events. And I will say, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel and you want this resource, you're going to look underneath the video in the description. Sometimes you have to click show more. All right. So who am I, you may say? I am Dr. Desiree Alexander, and I'm the founder CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting. And these are all of the different ways that you can contact me. Yay! I'm on Twitter at Educator Alex. And really, if you can get to my website, you can get to me. So some webinars and events that we have coming up. Tech You Can Do, leveling up with Google Tools. Last summer, Sarah Kiefer came and did a level 1, pretty much like boot camp for us. Within 2 to 3 weeks, we knew all of the Google tools. We had amazing resources. And she said, I want to come back for level 2. So it's coming back and starting on Tuesday. So you don't want to miss the first one, which is docs, because it's not, if you're thinking like, oh, this is basic learning. No, it's leveling up. So definitely register. We have a whole bunch of people already registered. So you want to go ahead and get your spot before it's all taken. But there you go. So a whole webinar series. Then we have ISTE. So I am speaking at ISTE. If you're going to be there, come and join me. All of this information is at alex.net/events. Then we have Inclusion Tech Hacks coming back July 10th. The amazing Jessica Reed. I always love when she joins us for a session. Then I am going to be teaching at Teach Tech. So this is a paid event, but you can use the code FRIENDS and get a 20% off your registration. Woohoo! So definitely check this out. You can see I'm there. I'm pretty much living there during these 3 days, all these sessions that I'm doing. And then we have Creating Your Digital Library coming in July. And Change Global. It's too late to present because all the slots are full, but you can attend. It's the original 24-hour conference. You just can't miss it. There's so many prizes giving away. There's people from around the globe presenting, and they present for a full 12 hours. So you wake up at 4 o'clock, you're like, I want to go to a session. Come on and join us. All right, financial literacy. I've been waiting on this one. I want to see what she lets us know. Financial literacy for educators coming July 31st. Right before you go back to school and make all those financial decisions. Back to school with Bunsey. Rochelle is coming back and digging really deep into Bunsey, infusing digital reading and writing tools. However you teach, Dr. Hines has you covered. Then I'm going to be at TCCA in Houston, Texas. I cannot wait for this. It's one of my favorite conferences, and you'll be my first in-person conference, not my first in-person training, because we've been doing that for a while, but my first in-person conference. So I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. And then December 4th is Google Educator Certifications Panel. So somebody asked for this on that form that I gave you, and it became a session. So all these wonderful, wonderful coaches and trainers and innovators are getting together, and they're going to tell you some good stuff and answer your questions about becoming a Google educator, a Google certified educator. So without further ado, you may be like, Desiree, all of that sounds amazing. I'm going to go ahead and register for all of it. But boo, I want to hear about Google Arts and Culture. That's why I'm here today. And I am with you because that's why I am here today too. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get started with Google Arts and Culture.
So good morning. Well, I'm going to say good morning because it's morning for me. I'm in the Central Time Zone. So in India, it must be tomorrow, right? Isn't it already tomorrow? So welcome, and thank you so much for coming. I get to talk to you about one of my all-time absolute favorite pieces of Google. And I will add probably the most underutilized features of Google, and that is Google Arts and Culture. What I would love for you to do is I would love for you to put into chat, what is your experience with arts and culture? 2 things I'd like to ask you. What is your experience just in general? And then the second piece is, what is your experience with kids? Have you used it with kids? Have you not used it with kids? I'm going to give you just a second. I'm going to open up chat so I can take a look at it as well. If you would just throw that in so that I know where we're started here. That would be helpful. So what is your experience with Google Arts and Culture for yourself and for using it with kids? Never used it. Wonderful. Thanks, James. You are going to probably, I've just ruined your day because now you're going to spend the rest of the day on it. All right. Okay. Never used it. Good. Thank you so much. We'll give just about 15 more seconds for that. Okay. All right. Oh, good. Good, good, good. We have a lot of people who haven't used it. Middle school art. Perfect. Perfect. So she used it. Okay. Thank you, Jim. All right. So with that, I'm going to close out the chat. I will be asking you as we go through this session to just put things into the chat, and then we'll do some shout outs from there. Okay. All right. Very quickly, before we go any further though, this session is 100% hands-on. So what you should do right now is open up a new tab. Just have that sitting open in Google Chrome or the browser that you're using. Have that open tab ready to go. All right, very quickly, just a little bit about me. I am an instructional coach in the South Milwaukee School District. I live in the city of Milwaukee in Wisconsin. And this one is really important today, that little Milwaukee Bucks thing. I'm an avid Bucks fan. I'm a season ticket holder. We have a big Game 7 tonight. So that's a little bit about me. The most important thing on this slide, though, is this part right here. And that's the Google Educator group. A lot of times people ask me how I keep up on what's happening with Google when there are new things. And that's the Google Educator group. You would use Google Plus in your school Google account, not your personal account. And you can keep up with Google Educator groups. I lead the one in my area of my state. There are educator groups around the world. And so there's likely one wherever you happen to live at this moment. All right, with that, we're going to get started. Our goal for today, and today is going to be a fast-paced look through arts and culture. It is a huge website. And so I just want you to really focus on one thing that you can take to use with kids. There's going to be hundreds of things, but I really want you to take one thing, because what happens when we do sessions like this, it's rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. And then oftentimes we hang up on the call, life happens, and then we forget what we did. I want you to really focus on one thing that you can use with kids, or maybe it's something you're interested in as well. Just some connection to Google Arts and Culture that we can make sure to use. The other thing that I want to make sure to highlight is the whole idea of digital literacy. You've probably heard that term. It's a term that everybody at this moment right now is using, especially post-COVID, and that is digital literacy. There's 4 pieces of digital literacy that are really important and that I really believe arts and culture addresses. We want our kids to be able to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information when they're working online. The find and evaluate and communicate pieces in arts and culture are really, really, they're easy to find. The create piece of it, we'll talk a little bit of that, but we're going to spend the majority of our time in the find, evaluate, and communicate piece. So please keep those in the back of your mind. Okay, why arts and culture? Here's my answer. Why not? There is so much here that you are going to find that can apply to what you teach. It does not have to be art. It does not have to be social studies. It does not have to be science. Arts and culture is something that I truly believe can be integrated into any content area. And you'll see that in just a bit. So for the rest of the time, this slide deck is yours for later. In case you would forget anything that we would talk about, this is for you to go back and take a look at. Our time for about another 35 minutes is going to be entirely hands-on. So just know that this particular slide deck is just a reference for you. I will come back and revisit it at the end of our time together, and you will have access to it after. All right, so anything in the chat that I need to be aware of?
Not at this time.
No, we're good to go. Okay, then what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to open that new tab that I asked you to open, and I'd like you to put in artsandculture.google.com. And this is the home page. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to talk at you a little bit, and then I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to give you, I'm sorry to say, only about 1 or 2 minutes to explore what I talked about. And then we're going to go on to the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. I find that the worst thing that I could do for you is to lecture you on arts and culture. That is not the best way to learn about this. So I'm going to show you a little bit, then we're going to learn, and then we're going to come back together. And I'm going to ask you to put what you see into the chat. And the reason for that is because arts and culture is so big. When we put what we find into the chat, that crowdsources everything that we found. So I can look at the chat and go, oh my goodness, you found something about the Grand Canyon? That's great. I have a unit on the Grand Canyon. I'm going to check that out later. Okay. So that's how it's going to work from this point forward. So hopefully now you have that tab open and you're at artsandculture.google.com. The other thing I want you to know, and then we'll get deeper into this, is if you are the type of learner that's an explorer and a clicker, go ahead and do that. Tune me out, explore. When I need you, I'll call you back, okay? If you are the type of learner that likes to follow along exactly what I'm doing, I will talk through what I'm clicking on so that you can go back and forth from me, from what you're seeing right now on my screen, and your tab. So we will go back and forth that way. All right, with that, this is the homepage of Arts and Culture. And it is huge, just the homepage. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I want to let you know that there is an Arts and Culture app. There are things, and I will say really, really fun things, that you can do in the app that you can't do on the web-based version. For the purposes of our session today, we're just going to look at the web-based version. There's plenty there, believe me. I do want you, though, I'm really going to challenge you to take a look at the app moving forward. There, you can take selfies with the app and compare your face to pieces of art around the world. So make sure that you take a look at the Arts and Culture app on whatever mobile device you happen to be using, your phone, a tablet, or anything. Okay. With that, I'm going to ground you in how arts and culture is laid out. Because once you're grounded in this, it's easier to navigate. When you visit arts and culture, if you take a look right here, it says the date. And we know that today is a very special day. We know that today is Juneteenth. And so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I do want you to know that every day there's new content highlighted. So when I came in yesterday or the day before to look for things that we're going to look at together, this was all different. Now, just because it's not here doesn't mean that it's not available. That's really important to understand. So if you see something today, like if you want to, you're studying Degas and you want to take a look at this, this is not gone just because it's not here. You just have to dig a little bit deeper. All right, we're going to scroll down. You also have the opportunity to look at museums from around the globe. You pick the one that you want to explore. We're going to come back to this. Typically with arts and culture, what it will do is it will highlight things that are happening on a global scale on specific dates. So this is happening here. What happens, let's say when the Olympics start, I believe they start next month, there will be a whole bunch of things about the Olympics. When the World Cup in soccer is happening, there will be a whole bunch about the World Cup. So they really do pull out content to match what's happening. There's interactive experiences that we're going to come back to. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. You actually can transfer pictures that you take on your mobile device and make them look like pieces of art in arts and culture. You can search by color, and there's other things that we're going to look at. Before we get going, and this is where we're going to use the chat, so get ready to add some information into the chat. I'm going to share with you my aha moment about arts and culture. There we go. And this was a moment in time for me where I was like, oh my gosh, why am I not using this with kids? You know, because I had heard of it. It's cool. There's stuff to do. This was the game changer for me. And I'm going to share that with you right now. So what I'd like you to put into the chat right now is, what do you see in this piece of art? This piece of art is called The Harvesters. And I'd like you just to type in, what do you see? Don't get too deep into it. Just look at this. What do you see? And Desiree, if you could just call that out, that would be great. What are you seeing in this particular picture? Go ahead and put that right into the chat.
I see harvesting.
Okay.
Eating.
I'll give you about 20 more seconds. What do you see here?
Exhaustion. Village.
Excellent.
Differing cultures.
Excellent.
Community.
We'll take one more. All right. All right. We'll wrap it up with that. So I'm wondering, did anybody see a cow pulling a wagon or a yak pulling a wagon? Did anybody see anybody swimming? Did anybody see a game being played? It looks a little bit like baseball. Anybody see that? Here's the game changer for me. This is a piece of art that I could see in an art museum, and watch what happens. I can zoom in to brush stroke level. Brush stroke level. Now think about this for your kids. Did anybody see this? This is part of the painting. This is a piece that we could have conversations about with kids. I asked you about seeing an ox or a cow pulling a wagon. Look at this. I can zoom in again to brush stroke level. And what do you see right there? You also can see the person doing that. Then I asked a little bit about swimming, and I'm going to give you a little warning. There is a little skinny dipping happening here, so just bear with me. I kind of made it funny there. Here we go. We have people swimming. Did anybody see that? When I asked you to look at this piece of art, did anybody see that? You couldn't. And I would even go so far as to say, when you're standing behind a barricade at an art museum, you likely wouldn't see this either. You can look at the brush stroke level of this piece of art, and I'm going to zoom out now. And now think about how that just changed your view of a painting called The Harvesters. Being able to zoom in and have those conversations with kids. If I can zoom if I can zoom right here and talk about with kids, what are you seeing? What do you think's happening here? What are they playing? Are they playing? Maybe they're not playing. Maybe this is something very serious happening. Think of the conversations, the rich discussions that you can have with kids as you look at this piece of art. We have more animals here, and look at this. We have boats off in the distance. And I'll continue to zoom out. That was my game changer for arts and culture. Now, the zoom in, just a little housekeeping here. The zoom in feature, anytime you see this little plus sign, that means you can zoom all the way in. What I would like for you to do while we're working is I would like for you, if you see this heart, I'd like for you just to click on it. That's going to collect our favorites because we're going to need them a little bit later. Okay? Also, when you get to a piece of art, so here's the harvester, you always get some information about every piece of art, or really any artifact that you're looking at will always have information for you to look at. Scroll down here. You also get where this piece of art is being kept. You get a little history about it. You get the credit on why it's online. Google Arts and Culture, Google worked with art providers and partners, and they have provided the content for Google in Arts and Culture. And then you get related information. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my homepage. Here we are. In my homepage, I have the ability to, sorry, I hope that's not making you dizzy. I have the ability to look at highlighted images that you can zoom in on as well, okay? And it will start to collect that information the more that you look. Okay, now that kind of gave you the why I use it with kids. What we're going to go look at here is this little 3-bar, I call it the Hamburger Menu, the 3-bar right here. This is how you find and you dig deeper into arts and culture. We're going to look at these 3 main items right here: collections, themes, and experiments. We could spend the rest of today looking at all of the rest of this. If you have a good understanding of collections, themes, and experiments, that will help you dig deeper into arts and culture. All right, any questions in the chat before I hit collections?
Not at this time.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead, and when I pull up the collections of art, what that's going to do is it pulls from specific museums. As an example, I have the Museum of Modern Art here. I can go ahead and look at all of the pieces that have been shared with Google from the Museum of Modern Art. And the way that it's laid out, it's important we understand how this is laid out. We get our stories. We'll talk about that in a minute. We get sub-items related to this museum. And then we get specific artifacts from the museum. So let me show you again. I'm going to click Hamburger Menu, Collections, and this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the National Gallery in London. I'm going to click on this, and remember, it's the same. It's important we understand this. I get the name of my museum. I get some information about the museum. I get sub-stories related to the museum or online exhibits, specific pieces of art or specific types of art from this museum, and then specific pieces. Here's the other thing that I might get. It's this thing, and this little icon right here, this guy has a name. His name is Pegman. If you see Pegman, that means that there is a virtual tour of this museum. So right now, I am standing in the National Gallery in London. That's what you're looking at. I'm clicking around. Now, if you look really closely, see my little arrow, like above my smiley pointer. If I click on the arrow, it will take me forward to the next piece of art. And I can move through different rooms in this particular gallery. Okay, here's the other thing that you can do. You can move through the pieces of, the rooms in each particular museum that you're looking at down here. All right, I'm going to use the back arrow. Anytime you're lost, use the back arrow or the home button. If you're off exploring, come back for just a minute, okay? You also get information on how to visit the museum. Okay, I'm going to go back. If you're off exploring, come back for just 1 second. I'm going to go back to collections. The other thing that I want to show you is the ability to search the collections by map. So if you happen to be studying a particular area of the world, you can look here to find all of the museums that have joined with Google and partnered with Google for arts and culture. You also can get an alphabetical listing if you would rather have that. Okay, That's collections. Collections are big. Collections are full museums that have partnered with Google. Now I'm going to get into themes, and this is where I'm going to lose you for a long time, and that's okay. Themes are, just as it would imply, overarching themes in arts and culture that pull from collections. So in a theme, I might have something from a museum in London. I might have something from a museum in India. I might have something from a museum in Milwaukee. Themes pulls from various collections. So I'm going to go ahead, and the theme that we're going to look at two themes here. The first one that we're going to look at, and I apologize, I had it open and then I closed it, is this one called Once Upon a Tribe. And what I love about this theme is it pulls from all over the world about invention and innovation. I'm going to scroll down, and here's what we get for the theme. All of these museums have partnered to provide content. We get some information just on the beginning of the theme. And then as we scroll down, here are specific pieces from different museums. Hopefully you're seeing how big this is. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going here because, okay, I'm an elementary person and a middle school person. So of course, all kids want to know who invented the toilet. You get this. This is pulled from all over the world. Who invented the toothbrush? As you scroll, who invented glasses, the internet, the compass? All of this information is in one theme and has pulled from museums and artifacts from around the world. So I'm going to click on Inventing the Wheel and look what happens here. We'll give it just a second. Remember, we have our overarching theme. Now, I have chosen to look at the wheel. Oops, let me go back. It went a little too fast. When you see this right arrow, it's almost like a book now, or a flip book of information. So I'm going to keep going. And look, you see this moving? I'm not doing that. That tells me that there's a 360 view that I can look at. I'm going to keep going. I'm still in just one part of this particular theme. Oops, let me go back. Sorry, I clicked too quick on that one. I'm going to keep going. I'm still in the innovation theme. So we have information about the cheeseburger. We have information about people that were explorers. So you can see how big this is. What I'm going to do right now, I still haven't ended the end of this innovation theme. What I'm going to do, what I'd like for you to do, is I'm going to have you go to the Hamburger Menu. We're not going to talk about how to search just yet. I just want you to explore, okay? I'd like you to click around. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and 2 minutes only, I'm sorry. Make sure to click the favorites if you find something you want. I'm going to stop talking for 2 minutes. In those 2 minutes, I'd like you to click on the Hamburger Menu, click on Themes, and I'd like you to take a look at what you can find here. There are featured ones that we can find, and if we keep scrolling, there's a whole lot more. At the end of 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you, if you're a Harry Potter fan, there you go. I'm going to ask you to put into the chat what you saw. Okay? Are we ready? 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer right now. I'm going to say in Chrome, timer 2 minutes, and hit enter. Okay, off you go. I'll go ahead and open that up. Please put into the chat something that you found that was helpful. Presidential pets. Very nice, Jim. It's kind of amazing what you can find, right? What else did we find during those 2 minutes? I know 2 minutes is not a lot. What else did we find? Dinosaurs, yep. All right. You can still put it into the chat. I'm going to close chat. I won't be calling it out right now. I do have to show you this only because I live in Milwaukee. There are only, I think there's less than 5 cities, specific cities that have been highlighted by arts and culture My city that I live in is Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is one of them. So I do have to brag a little bit about that. So these are our museums and theaters. And then you can scroll down and take a look here. So make sure you check that one out if you get a chance. All right, so here we are in themes. Now the question was, how do I search? Right, because it's humongous. So now you need to find how to get to your content. So this little thing right over here, this little magnifier, when I click on that, you will see my search items. So as an example, I'm gonna show you teaching with arts and culture. When I click on this, it brings me to this direct theme if I want to. It also will show me collections and stories and then items that are related. So a search is a big topic, okay? So I'm gonna go back to search. I'll show you the teaching with arts and culture in just a second. And let's just say that I'm going to search for, we'll say Abraham Lincoln. There we go. So here is Abraham Lincoln. These are the search results that I get for him. You'll see I get, he comes in as a historical figure. I get collections. Remember, collections are specific museums. Stories are sub-stories of the museums. And then I get my items that are here. I also get some views as well. So I'm going to go back. And I want to just show you very quickly before we move to our next thing, the teaching and the learning with arts and culture. This is relatively new in arts and culture, I would say within the last 6 months or so, maybe a little bit longer. This is specifically made for educators and for parents during COVID. So if you scroll down, and this is a theme, so if you're looking for it as a theme, there are some tips for teaching with arts and culture that are really, really good. There are specific subjects. Do you remember when I said way back when we first started that I believe that arts and culture can be used with any topic? Take a look here. We have computing, physics, chemistry, history, music. If we have any music teachers here, my mom's a music teacher. That's near and dear to my heart. Obviously, art we can teach. Biology, all of these subjects have specific items in arts and culture. Here's the big thing. There also are downloadable lesson plans, which are really, really good. These are high quality lesson plans that have been written, and I'm going to show you that in a second. We also have the virtual field trips that I mentioned before with Pegman. And then the camera piece of it is the app. Remember, I told you that you can do different things in the app. You also can check out AR without the app. But it's a little bit more helpful if you're using, it's a little more interactive. I'm sorry, not helpful, if you're using the app. Here's the zooming in that I talked about. And then we can go back down to other items in teaching. This is all related to teaching with arts and culture. We'll get to the interactive activities in just a second. Hang on one second. There we go. Now, I want to just show you. I happen to be a huge superhero fan, so I'm going to show you this group of lesson plans that are available. These are 35 pages of different things that you can use using arts and culture to teach lessons. Here's vocabulary that's related to it. You'll notice this also uses the harvester to show that. And it goes through and makes the connection, and I know I'm going fast, but in the time that we have, I want to make sure you get it. It makes the connection to this particular topic, which is superheroes and arts and culture. It also gives you reflection questions for your kids. These lesson plans are high quality, immersive lesson plans. So please, please, please take a look at that. That's in, let me just show you again. Learn with Arts and Culture, which is a theme, which can be found by clicking on the magnifier. Okay, in the last few minutes that we have, I'm going to show you the last thing in the Hamburger Menu, and that is the experiments. And I always save it for the end because this is where I will lose you now from moving forward. The experiments are so fun, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Hang on. Let me go back up here. The experiments are so fun because there's a whole bunch of games listed in here. I'm going to go back to the home page because I find it easier to find what I need here. So give me just a second. There we are. All right. In the experiments is a subtopic of interactive games, and these are so fun. So I'm going to go ahead and click, can you complete the visual crossword puzzle? So if you look, you drag and drop using using art that is already in arts and culture. Hold on, I'm going to exit this one because I want to show you the other stuff. Hang on, sorry, I'm so excited that I keep clicking on the wrong thing. So here we go. In our experiments, we also have games that we can look at. You can look at all of these coloring books that we have. I'm trying to find, here we go, the puzzle party. This is the one I'm looking for. And I know someone mentioned that they're presenting this at a conference. Just a tip, this would be a great way to start your presentation if you were doing it in person. And you could do it virtual as well. And that is the puzzle party. This is a collaborative jigsaw puzzle using arts and culture. So here we go, watch this. I'm going to launch the experiment. It's coming. I have the ability to challenge other people or to have them come in and collaborate with me on all of these pieces of art. So let's say that we want to look at, let's see. Oh, let's do this piece of art up here. We'll do the love. There we go. Now, watch what happens. It's a multiplayer game. I know this is like, I'm going to lose you for the rest of the time, and that's okay. I've just ruined your day. This is the multiplayer, or you can do it solo. I'm going to choose solo, but actually, I'm going to show you multiplayer. It'll give you the link, and look. You could assign it in Google Classroom. So if you're working in a hybrid environment, if you're working in a virtual environment, you can assign this and kids can collaborate together on it. So I'm going to go back. And here is my jigsaw puzzle that I'm going to work together. Now I'm just going to move these around here. I can redo it. I can zoom in. I can change the background color if I need to. Okay, and then I can hide, it gives me the little preview here. So if you haven't been able to tell, I think this is pretty amazing. So let me just copy the link here. This is where I'm going to lose you. And I'm going to throw it into the chat if you want to try it yourself. Here we go. There you go. If you want to try it, go ahead. You do not have to. But I'm going to keep going. So if you choose to try it, you're on your own right now. So here we are. Hang on 1 second. Let me get rid of the chat. There. So I have a little bit more space. I'm losing screen space here, and I'm on just a single monitor. Oh, I see somebody's in there. There we go. You can see pieces moving. Think about what a powerful and rich experience this is for our kids. All right, so I'm going to go back to Puzzle Party. Again, I'm so sorry. I know that I have now lost you for the rest of the day, and I apologize for that a little bit. The other experiments that you have, I'm going to scroll down. If we have any teachers of littles, there we go. The art coloring book allows you to take a piece of art and lets them add their own colors. And then it compares the colors of the actual piece of art to what the kids did. Teachers of littles and middle school and a little bit high school, I encourage you also to show them blob opera. This is super fun. It has sound, so I'm not going to play it now just in the interest of time. I do encourage you, though, to play around with it. Again, I have now ruined your day because now you will be playing in arts and culture forever. Also, teachers of littles, Hopper the Penguin will take you around the world and will give our littles tours of various places. So you can go to Machu Picchu, you can go to the pyramids in Egypt, all different places you can look at with Hopper the Penguin. All right, so that's here if I want to. There we go. I'm going to take Hopper in now. And here's Hopper right here. And Hopper is going to take me to look at the Statue of, to take the Statue of Liberty. Okay. Now, I asked you to collect way back when we started. I said, make sure that you click on the little heart. Oops, I know you guys are all working on the puzzle. Nice done, nicely done. I'll check your project, your progress in just a minute. Let me go back here. I'm gonna go back to my homepage. Now, I asked you to check on the little heart because that adds it to your favorites. That's right here. When you come to your favorites, so let's say that you're working on a unit that you want to give to your kids, or you want to share a piece of art with your students. If you click on it in your favorites, what that will do, let's see, I'll go ahead and select this one. This is a painting by Van Gogh. If you want to share it from your favorites, remember the heart is how you add it to your own favorites, kind of like a bookmark. If you click the international share for sign, that's this thing right here, you have the ability to assign this in Google Classroom. Now, I'm not going to go all the way through Classroom, but it will let you select a class, and then you can create an assignment or ask a question or anything else that you need in Google Classroom. The integration with Classroom is a big deal, and it makes it a lot easier for our kids to get that targeted location in arts and culture. While I'm talking about that targeted part of arts and culture, I'm going to just pull up, hang on one second, give me a minute. I'm going to come back to my home page, and I want to go to historical events because I want to make a really quick point before we wrap up. Arts and culture has very intense images. So if you look at the historical events right now, you see that a lot of war is being covered. Arts and culture has access to every image that was ever published in Life magazine. And if you remember, Life magazine from a long time ago was well known for its coverage of wars and other really intense things that happened in history. So I'm not going to go so far as to say that these are inappropriate in arts and culture, but there are intense images. Arts and culture is not something I would say to my youngers, hey, go search in arts and culture and discover what you can discover. Because there are intense images here. That's why, and I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to hit the back arrow here and go back to my favorites. That's why the favorites are important. And the ability to send, sorry about that, the ability to share directly with kids is a big deal. I'm going to click the share. I can give them the link, or I can share it to Classroom. That's important because that eliminates for our youngers, and really for all kids, having to go in and search. Those images are not inappropriate images, just some of them are more intense for our youngers. So I want to make sure that we have a good understanding of that. That's very important. All right, I'm going to come back here to my Hamburger menu. Before I do that, are there any questions in chat that I need to know of?
There was one about downloading the art pieces. They saw a button to download and was wondering what did that do?
So the only thing that the download is going to do is it's going to provide you access to that particular exhibit. These are not, I guess, takeable. You can't take these images because they are coming right from each provider. So the download image, let me just show you here. I'm struggling to explain it here. The download piece of it will just bring you back to this. You can't pull these images out of arts and culture. These images are owned by all of the museums. That's where I would actually use the share part of it to give communicate that to kids, or the Google Classroom piece.
The other question is, are the lesson plans for certain ages?
So you have to dig a little bit. I will say that is one part that isn't as great, I guess not great, as efficient, is you have to dig a little bit into them. There is a grade band identified in each one, but that's very American school focused. So if you are out of the US, it may not match what you're looking for. So you do have to dig a little bit into that. All right. So let's just, anything else? Sorry. Anything else in chat?
No, that's it.
Okay. So we've gone through these three main pieces of arts and culture. That's enough to make you dangerous, right? The artists, mediums, all of the things right here, these are subtopics in these bigger collections. So what I mean by that, when I go ahead and click art movements, you will find these in those other three, okay? So this is now based on art movements throughout history. I want to make sure to highlight this part. Anytime that you see the time piece of it, you have a timeline that you can search by. So if I'm studying art from the 1920s, I can select that and it will pull up that particular movement in art history for me. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to click the Hamburger Menu. The same thing happens in the historical events. You'll see the timepiece. Oops, sorry. And if I go back to historical figures, I can also search by time there. That's an important piece when you're looking for that, or when you're asking kids to come in and find content. Our older kids can find content very easily in arts and culture. And don't forget, I would have them remember, you can share out to kids, but they can also do their own digging. The olders can do their own digging and share to you. I actually have a teacher that uses arts and culture as a journaling topic a lot, and that is a middle school teacher. So we have our subtitles or our topics down here. One other thing I want to highlight, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day, is the achievement. Of course, Google had to put in the ability to have badges, and your kids are going to love this. And I don't care what age level they are, they're going to love this. You have the ability, and you may have already discovered this with what you're doing, to collect badges as you go through. I think that's kind of fun, and that is actually really new. All right. So we have, let's look again here. If you're off exploring, come back for just a minute. We have looked at collections. Think of collections as museum specific. We have looked at themes. Themes are topics pulled from collections. And we have looked at experiments, and experiments are just pure fun. I think they're also really kind of astounding with the technology that they have managed to pull in here. There's a lot of augmented reality and virtual reality experiments. We didn't touch on the artist mediums and these topics here. Those you can explore on your own. And then we have our settings and feedback. So if you have ideas that you want to send, Google. With that, I'm going to come to my last item right here. What I would like for you to do, and I know that's a lot that I've thrown at you really quickly. What I would like for you to do is in the chat for 1 minute, I'm only going to give you 1 minute. I'd like you just to say, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about using arts and culture with kids? What have you learned? What impact could this have on your teaching? So go ahead and put that into chat, please. Definitely, Jim. Being able to curate images for our kids is very important. I agree with you 100% on that. An artist study, perfect. Engaging learning experiences, absolutely. And what I love about it, Jim, is you can do it in a hybrid environment, a blended environment, an in-person environment. It doesn't matter. You could do it in a remote environment if they have access to tablets as well. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Audrey, definitely. Just inquiry. I love the fact that you brought up inquiry. Thank you very much for that. I am going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm just going to come back. And is there anything else, just the last minute or two, that you might want to add to chat? If I can help you at all, please, please, please reach out. We put our contact information in at the beginning. I would love to collaborate with you. I have access to kindergarten through 12th grade. If you want to work on a collaborative project, I'm happy to do that. Please reach out. If there's anything I can do to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask to collaborate. So I'm going to hand it back over. And that is arts and culture in the fastest tour that you can possibly imagine. I encourage you to play with it, pick something and play as often as you can. Jim, I think the link, was the link put in already?
Yes, the link was put in 1,000 times. So it is.
Awesome. Get that in there. Oh, there it is. Yep. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you so much, Tammy. That was, I mean, it's like Google Arts and Culture in a nutshell. And you do it so well because it doesn't seem overwhelming. So thank you so much. We appreciate you coming today.
All right. I'm actually going to sign off. So thank you so much, everybody.